Hi, Joe. Welcome to our Blueprint podcast, where we talk about newest and latest in PropTech technology space. We today would like to have this conversation with you and speak about Oyster Data and what kind of exciting tech you have in your product today. What's coming down the line, and just dive deeper into this. So I wanted just to start off with the introduction. I'll just pass it on to you. Please tell us about Oyster Data, yourself, and how you came to build the company.
Yeah, thanks, Roman. Great to see you, man. Happy kind of belated New Year. But yeah, really happy to be here and thanks for the invite. Yeah, so my name is Joe Stockton, co-founder and CEO of Oyster Data. I'm based up here in Seattle. I've been working in real estate my entire career. Originally an attorney in a big law firm, working on like skyscraper projects, mixed use, multifamily, kind of you name it. Everything real estate and construction around Puget Sound, coming out of the Great Recession and the Amazon fueled growth up here. Early 2018 is when I went over to Zillow and was on the ground floor of what became Zillow Offers, the iBuyer business. That's where I met two of my co-founders, Leah Sakis, who's our chief product officer, and Ryan Barry, who's a co-founder, investor, but more of a strategic advisor, so not day to day. And we built, Zillow Offers up, 0 to 25 markets, high flying. Same thing with a title and escrow business. And that's where I'd say we really caught the prop tech bug, and also realized we had a lot of problems kind of like managing large portfolios of homes at scale, like operationally. We never had good data on the equipment, the work order histories, the warranties, insurance policies. We were constantly paying for the same work twice, having redundant property visits. Um, it was a whole hassle every time we were selling a portfolio, getting these property reports together and responding to diligence questions. And so we wanted to build a tool to help like streamline operations, really like digging into the physical assets, and there's just nothing available. And nothing available to buy. We wanted to build something, just couldn't just couldn't get it on the roadmap. So that's kind of where this idea of Oyster really started. And I ended up at two other startups, one in multifamily, which is where I met my co-founder, Albert, our CTO. Again, running kind of into the same kind of problems. Like we really wanted to digitize, our multifamily assets, like leverage all of that data to our benefit. And then it was at another startup where, again, dealing with the same problem. So we said, hey, like there is this gap in the market here. Rents have largely stabilized, interest rates are up, and operating costs are through the roof. The best players are going to have to figure out how to like understand their data to operate more efficiently, and there's nothing there. So let's take our shot, let's build something, and really solve this problem that we know firsthand. So it's kind of like the story of how we created the oyster and like these pain points. And yeah, we've been at it for a couple of years now.
Awesome. I love that. Just to dive a little bit deeper into the business and what problem you are serving. To tell us a little bit more about a typical client of Oyster Data, and what kind of more specific problems are you solving for them? Is it
Yeah.
reporting? Is it something else?
Yeah, so we'll talk about like the problem. So, we work with some of like the largest multifamily owner operators in the country. Kind of started at the top of the market, for better or for worse. That's where we're at. And some of these customers, they will have asset managers spending 20 to 30% of their time trying to just, track down very like fundamental questions about their portfolios. Like, how many sunsetting Nest thermostats do we have and where are they located? And they can't answer that question because they don't have a directory of all of their inventory, at the system or appliance level for all of their equipment. We have other groups who their maintenance technicians sometimes spend hours trying to fix that dishwasher that is 12 years old and has maintenance history to it when they should just be replacing it. Meanwhile, other maintenance technicians will replace the dishwasher at the first sign of trouble. Like there's no consistency with repair versus replace guidance, et
Hmm.
cetera. And then capital planners, just have no idea where the next, major surprise is going to come. And so it's just this endless game of whack-a-mole. And so what we've done with Oyster is kind of solve a lot of these problems by bringing together all of this fragmented and siloed data into one spot. A robust, cleansed system of record. We call this the Oyster of all of this equipment information, with like manuals, specs, warranties, their age, all the critical building systems, like elevators, roofs, large scale HVACs and boilers, all of the work order data. So, every time you've ever touched one of these things. And other property title data, property and title data and inventory list all together now that this system of record is cleansed, structured, now actionable. So that's the foundational infrastructure that we've created. It's the unsexy stuff we like to joke about. It's like the plumbing of like bringing this all together. And now with this foundation in place, these companies are now AI ready. They can actually use this data for their benefit. And so with this data, we're creating these insights. We like to call them pearls, of insights and recommendations that we embed into existing workflows to drive consistency. So repair versus replace guidance, calling out when appliances or pieces of equipment are beyond their recommended useful life. How do you budget for that? Flagging other anomalies. We create curated preventative maintenance schedules based on all the documentation we're pulling. And so we make this really easy at the unit level when responding to a repair request. We're telling you all the other things you should be doing to be as productive as possible and enhance that resident experience. And then from a portfolio view, it's a game changer for capital planning, resource planning, looking at trends, evaluating vendors. We're constantly raising these issues for our users, and then at the building level, tracking, um, you know, compliance obligations, for those critical building systems as well.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thanks. So basically, since you mentioned AI, and we're a technology podcast, I would love to talk a little bit more about that, especially in terms of predictive maintenance. I believe it's one of probably one of the most innovative features that you have in your platform. Can you talk a little bit more about the data, how you train the data to kind of accommodate each of your clients' needs, and what role AI plays in this?
Yeah, so we use AI everywhere. So we're definitely AI native, and we work with a few different LLMs as well. Kind of like when we onboard properties and their communities and all their data, we're using AI to build all of these data pipes. So we're extracting all of this information. We're reading work orders. We're pulling manuals, reading those manuals. We're synthesizing then all of that data together to create that system of record. So it's really the behind the scenes data pipes, data cleansing, data mapping. And it's interesting, like we just onboarded 60,000 work orders for a client. And our AI like read all of that, read all the notes, all of the, from the resident, from the technician, because there are many ways to say something. Like if you're just fixing an air conditioner, there are many ways to say that. Like, oh, HVAC, cooling, all of these things.
Right.
We read all of that, identify exactly what work took place. We map it to the system, the location in the unit, all of the stuff in this cleansed, structured manner, which is really interesting. And then our AI will read all of the manuals, and that's where, with our prompts, we're creating these preventative maintenance schedules and things you should be doing. Our AI is evaluating trends to make other recommendations. So it's a lot of this like behind the scenes, unsexy stuff like we joke about. And then, we're looking at photos, we're converting, photos into structured data, looking at conditions of properties. We're leveraging, we're working with a few different models on that. Like Gemini has been like the best for our use cases. But we also use Claude for some things and ChatGPT. So it's a combination of LLMs with our own, data models kind of on top of that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And in terms of all of this data, it's primarily feeding into your platform. But in terms of kind of integrations, does the platform integrate with some of the largest players in the field, Yardies, Appfolios? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, yeah. So we're completely flexible and agnostic as to like where our customers access the data and the insights. So we like to give them the best of the world, best of both worlds. They have access to all of that on our platform, which a lot of times there are key personnel, key executives who want to use our platform. But for like boots on the ground and more people doing the day to day, we embed this into those workflows. We're client driven on where we integrate, and so it just so happens kind of like our biggest clients, some of the biggest brands in multifamily they have these data lakes, and they're like, hey, don't worry about integrating with Yardi or a procurement system or work order management system directly. We just want everything going in and out of Snowflake or
Mm-hmm.
Oracle. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like really easy on our end, or even
Yeah.
Salesforce for that matter, because it's one system of record going into another where we're going back and forth. And then from their data lake, we're plugging in to those workflows. We also just signed a marketplace agreement with HappyCo. So we're plugging in to that maintenance software. We're really excited about that partnership. We view our products as extremely complementary to each other. And we have shared customers already who are, really excited for, their maintenance technicians to have access to all of the Oyster data, insights, recommendations at their fingertips as they're using the HappyCo app, serving those residents.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's the right move. Basically, instead of going and integrating with each of the vendors, just feeding everything into data lakes, and that just gives you much more flexibility in terms of what kinds of platforms you can integrate with. Right.
Yeah, totally. And I think, it's interesting. Like we anticipated doing more of the one-to-one integrations out of the gate, but just kind of where our product fell and where our traction is. It's like, no, the sophisticated players, they're moving away from all that. And they want that
Mm-hmm.
data lake.
Yeah.
And those are the same types of customers, who are very excited about our product. They see immense value. They realize the time to value is insane, and they're constantly providing feedback and exploring other use cases. Our hypothesis is as we go down market, or the rest of like the kind of the middle of the market and lower markets, they're going to start to catch up, and they're going to start to understand that they need to be leveraging their data the same way to deliver a superior resident experience, to drive NOI growth and also enhance their investor returns. And so as we go down market, we'll do more of that like kind of one-to-one integration, but we also anticipate many of those customers, kind of lower tiers in the market, to start using data lakes themselves, so they can have much more flexibility managing their tech stack.
Yeah. Yeah. That totally makes sense to me. And in terms of the data uniqueness and even comparing to you to some of the competition, what would you say yeah, differentiates you from your closest competitor? Where do you stand out?
Yeah, I would say, a lot of this is a tool that a lot of groups have said, "Oh, we've always wanted to build that." They're like, "Oh, this has been on our roadmap for 10 years," and they just haven't done it because it's not fun. It's the dirty plumbing, and the cool interface with the resident or something like that always, you know, gets the priority. So we know that there are other players in the space who will overlap in some degree. It could be a maintenance software, it could be the property management system, it could be a point solution data provider, and they touch on a piece of what we're doing. But we're that comprehensive system of record where we're tying together all the equipment and procurement logs. We're tying together all the work order data. We're tying together all other property and inventory lists and all of that stuff. So we like to say we're the full comprehensive system of record that is far beyond any of those other tools out there. Our other kind of moat or value add is like we're Switzerland. We're not going to be the barber who tells you you need a haircut. We're an independent, neutral data lake that provides insights based on not just what we're seeing in your portfolio, but everyone else's portfolio. So there's that contributory database that provides recommendations that kind of grows. There's network effects associated with that.
S- s-
Um, yeah.
So just to comment on that, so basically your AI learns not only based on your isolated client, but it learns across various clients and then can give you additional insights across the board, right?
Totally. Yeah, like, hey, there might be a general, the industry standard for air conditioner lifespan might be 12 years, but in Arizona, that's probably, or Florida, that's probably going to be less than in Massachusetts. And so we have the actuarial data to say, okay, this brand, tends to die at this time, or we see these types of repair issues with this type of, make or model. Based on usage in this region, this is what we're expecting. Here's how you should be thinking about replacing that. Here's what it should cost. Here's what the benchmarks are. Here's like another anomalies that we're seeing. So yeah, all of the insights that we provide are, driven based on all of the data in our in our models, not just what our customer is seeing.
Gotcha. And just, I guess, the last question in terms of the platform that's interesting for me is, do you kind of require your clients to standardize their data and then kind of push it to your system, or you work on a customer by customer basis and then kind of help them structure the data as they onboard? How does this process typically look like?
Yeah, yeah. So this is also where AI really helps. Like usually when we onboard, we say, okay, just give us what you got. Just give us a giant data dump or give us access to your system, and like we'll start pulling and letting us work our magic behind the scenes. Then we can show them, how this works. We can show them like, okay, based on the data you have, kind of like what you have, like this is the output, and here's some like immediate value you can get from this. And sometimes that's all we need, and we're in great shape moving forward. Other times it's like, okay, like here's some major gaps, that we're seeing, or some areas for improvement or better processes. So then we work with the client on like how to best capture certain data or to structure it on kind of that go forward basis. So it just kind of depends what they have, but we're definitely, by their side, developing processes moving forward. Like we're just on a call today with a group. They're going to be moving forward. They have, 30,000 units, and they're like, hey, like we've made an executive decision. Like we need to like digitize all of our assets. We need to be tracking all of these fixed assets, managing their work orders, having better predictive capabilities. They're like, we know we're doing this, can you help us, Oyster, to get started and establish the processes moving forward? And we're like, absolutely. We have conviction of like which direction the hockey puck is traveling in this space. We decided to go and like meet that where it's going. And yeah, the biggest players and going down, like they've made the decisions. They just a lot of times don't know how to get started, where to go. And like, so we're very helpful to them, in those early innings, in those beginning stages.
Yeah, of course, using AI to kind of lower the entry barrier, because I would imagine, as you said, like 30,000 or so records, just inputting them manually or restructuring that would probably prevent
Yeah.
any person to go forward with this. So yeah,
We
I
did it in minutes.
regard
Yeah,
that.
60,000 work orders. We read structured map. We did it in minutes. Like just a
Yeah.
year or two ago, it would have taken a team of like 50 people
Yeah.
working around the clock. It's
And I would
absolutely nuts.
imagine that's probably why many companies haven't started doing that, because they just realize that it's just such a dump of information that it's just going to take ages to structure and then repurpose and
Yeah,
start. Yeah,
it's these companies like they haven't. Some of them have these mandates, like they need to start leveraging AI. It's coming from the top. It's coming from their investors. It's coming from the market, and they're like, but how do we use AI? We don't know how.
yeah,
And it's like you need that foundational infrastructure in place
right.
first in order to be AI ready. And that's what we do. We map it all together. We're the data pipes. We bring it all together. So now you have this clean, structured foundation of your data. And it's just the tip of the iceberg now. Once that's together, that's the hard work that no one has done. But once that's together, like the world is your oyster and like what you can
Right.
do with this.
Right. And again, I would imagine with such an enormous and, frankly, I would guess, unique set of data, there's so many opportunities that are just untapped,
Yeah.
even as of today.
Totally. A lot of our clients like, hey, Joe, or Leah or Tuck, like, this is great, like what you're providing and the insights and stuff, but like literally, this is just scratching the surface of how we're actually going to start using
Right.
this. And so those are great partners, great customers because they help drive our product roadmap as well. Of like how else, what else, from a dashboarding, reporting, insight standpoint, brings the most value to them.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Let's move on to kind of the slightly broader The topic is basically industry, state of industry. Our paths crossed a few times at some of the largest conferences
Mhm.
like Blueprint and OpTech, and I see you're very active there. And what would be your take in terms of predictions for 2026 in terms of technology? What trends are you seeing? Obviously, AI is probably on top of everyone's mind, but if there's anything else that you're noticing that's happening in the space.
Yeah, I think, I mean, digitization of the assets is happening. We used to joke over the last couple of years that, that topic was like sex in high school. Like everyone was talking about it, but no one was doing it. I think now many of these folks have grown up and they're like, yeah, it's time. Like rubber's met the road. Like we actually got to start, moving forward with these initiatives. So I think we're in a good spot in the market and timing from that standpoint. Um, I think time to value is everything. There's going to be there are a lot of tools out there, but if the operators don't see immediate value or quick value realization, they're not they're not going to waste their time. I think they want to start using the tools, but if they're not convinced that there's immediate ROI, it's going to be harder to get traction there. And so that's kind of like where we spend a lot of time too is, working with our clients on these dense ROI analyses, putting these business pages together, for that type of support. Because we pride ourselves on like, near immediate value. So this can pay for
Right.
itself. Um, let's see, other trends. There's probably going to be some consolidation. Like some parts of the market segment are pretty saturated at this point. So I'm very eager to see kind of like what happens. And I think some of these like really interesting platforms are, they have some, head-to-head competition coming up with other like extremely well-funded platforms where I think we might see some interesting moves where to beef up those products, really have a whole comprehensive suite of solutions, which will put more pressure on kind of the incumbents in the property management,
Hmm.
the PMSs
Hmm.
as well. So I think there's going to be some like really interesting activity that we see in 2026.
Interesting. And in terms of this, let's call it a clash in a sense of technology versus managers that are not used to using technology, and real estate is famous for being behind in
Mhm.
terms of adopting technology. Do you see it the pace kind of speeding up a little bit over the last couple of years or not? I personally see some of that, but it's not up to the pace I'd like it to be. But what's your
Yeah.
take on this?
I think it's happening. I mean, this group we're meeting with today, they said, part of their mandate of moving forward is to maintain a competitive advantage. So they see it as, it's something they have to do. And to them, they're like, yeah, if, we talk to other, mid-tier to, mid and high tier operators in multifamily or SFR, and like they're just not there yet. They're like, well, we're gonna go eat their lunch. So I mean, I think there are still a couple of perspectives in the space. Those who like really want to embrace technology, who are forward thinking, have the resources and the bandwidth to attack these issues, and I think they're gonna try to use that to their advantage and grow and squeeze out kind of those other players who might just go away.
Mhm.
Um, I think time will tell how long that takes. And then there are going to be other groups who realize, they're late to the game and they got a lot of catch up to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that's where the consultation might also play a big role,
Mhm.
not only in tech. So as we kind of start to wrap up, I wanted to ask you, where do you see Oyster Data in 2 to 3, 5 years? Where do you want to be? Any kind of major releases, feature releases, or upcoming features that you'd like to announce?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. So we've spent a lot of time working on like building this core foundation, all of the pipes, the foundational infrastructure, our immediate insights. I think that's like the V1 product. Now, as we get into V2, it's much more agentic. So like actually like kicking off a lot of these workflows. It's advanced and very nuanced, sophisticated insights. There's going to be some proprietary stuff out there regarding like, you know, without saying too much, really about like helping underwrite properties, understanding their health. How do we flag? We want to be able to make the invisible, actionable and like flag those issues and kick off workflows before our customers even realize that they need to. So it's about staying ahead of our customers. It's identifying those issues and not just identifying, but like doing the work. So that's kind of where the direction is going. From a market standpoint, we're big in multifamily, single family rental, build to rent, largely more towards the top of the market. But we do anticipate going further down market as kind of more of those groups kind of catch up to where the industry is going. And then we'll probably go into some adjacent verticals as well. Hospitality, short term rental are very obvious, even like wellness housing, obvious.
Mhm.
But there's no reason why every single Starbucks or McDonald's, shouldn't be on Oyster either.
Right.
So, this is what we've built. The technology is largely the same. It's asset class agnostic. And so we want, basically anyone who owns and operates real estate to have access to Oyster in the long term.
I love the vision of kind of going beyond the specific niche because basically what you've built does and should translate into other industries as well or verticals.
Yeah,
Um,
we get inbounds. People are like, "Can we put our golf course on this or like an amusement park?"
yeah,
Like anything that has like assets on that they need to manage because there's nothing out there. So we have to, make decisions on our end, like where do we focus? Where do we want to,
mhm,
take some other swings? But it literally could be anywhere. And it's because we've built the plumbing, to connect
right.
those dots where all of this is possible.
I would imagine at your stage, you're kind of you're at a mature stage, but still kind of there's a lot of room to expand, and it's hard to balance like doing everything versus
Hmm.
staying narrowly focused on your core audience. So
Totally.
it's something that you as a founder need to juggle, but I think you're doing a great job so far.
Yeah,
Kudos
thanks,
goes out
Roman.
to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the constant tension, right? Wanting to do
Right.
everything, but really just focus and knocking it out of the park for the core group, for your core ICP that
Yeah.
matters most. So
Yeah. Awesome, Joe. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you for this deeper dive into the technology landscape. I'm sure that our listeners will be happy to hear about this. I hope to see you at one of the upcoming events as we do from time to time. Guys, please check out oysterdata.com. Amazing product. Joe is it's a great communicator. Reach out to him and subscribe to our channel to hear more about PropTech startups, especially with a dive into technology. We're releasing episodes roughly every 2 to 4 weeks. So please subscribe, and we're happy to have these conversations with you guys. Thanks, Joe.
thanks, Roman. So thanks so much for having us. You guys are awesome, great partners, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.